Well, hello. Yet again we meet every Sunday like usual, my friends. It's been a while. Well, a week to be exact. But yet again we meet every Sunday like usual. Feedback. It's been a while. Well, a week to be There we go. I fixed that part. Monitor was turned on anyway. We have adventures to discuss, my friends. And my apparent embarrassment. Not only do we discuss what happens in the land of Faerun, but also what happens beyond the stars. Yes, today, my friends, we don't just talk about Baldur's Gate. No, we talk about Starfield and much more. So, take a seat, my friends. As usual, grab your cup of something, maybe even a cat. Have a seat. Let's begin the show.
What the hell? I wasn't expecting that.
It's a little all over the place. All over the place. So, Mark.
Yes, sir.
It's another podcast.
It is another podcast, sir.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Just Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Ian. And as always, I am joined by
the best co-host in the world, Mark. More energy today, Mark.
Yes, indeed. Apparently so. So, we have yet another fantastic week of games to talk about. We both have been deep
It's
in Baldur's Gate.
It's an illness.
I wouldn't call it an illness per se, but, you know.
It is.
Yeah. So, how's everybody doing? Seeing some new names in the chat. Laura, Zombie Legs Gaming. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Yeah, so let's talk about the weeks.
The weeks. I wish I had played something different. I actually am lying. I'm glad I didn't play anything different. But yeah, all week, any chance, waking moment that I had, any spare time was spent in Baldur's Gate, and I don't regret any of it. So.
Yeah. So it's been kind of a weird week. Like, work's really been picking up, so I've been really busy with that. I recorded a couple videos this week like I normally do. But it was more difficult than usual the last couple weeks to record a couple videos. Just time-wise, trying to be able to keep up with things. I've played a lot of Baldur's Gate. Didn't play anything else, of course. But I've made some pretty decent headway in the game. I'm Act 3 on my main file, but I also have like 6 other playthroughs that I'm playing simultaneously. So,
yes, yeah, and we went ahead and bit the bullet and restarted our co-op playthrough, and we're actually about to be. Actually, we're actually further than we were on that playthrough. So
we're much further than we were. Yeah,
not too bad, not too shabby.
Still a lot of Act 1 stuff like. That's kind of the weird thing with streaming new games when they come out, is that when I'm streaming, I'd rather just stream like Act 1.
Yeah.
Because I know that, one, there's a lot of PlayStation folks that haven't had the opportunity to play yet.
Yep.
There's a bunch of Xbox folks that may never get the opportunity to play.
Fingers crossed.
There is and then there's tons of people that are already playing it on PC that just haven't gotten that far yet in the game.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of game to muscle through, even if you're trying to just speed run it through. I mean, I'm still in Lower City, and I've been in Lower City for probably 2 weeks. I'm max level, and I'm still doing quests down there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but yeah, no. Outside of that, really not a whole lot. I had Fogo last night. It's the first time I've ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Did you get the meat sweats afterwards? That's what I always do.
Big time.
I always eat so much.
Big time. I quite literally felt like I weighed 40 pounds. Oh, dude, I felt so gross. I felt so gross. I was like sitting on the couch and like I was basically pregnant is what it felt like. It wasn't until I awoke this morning that I was like, my food has digested. I have lost 15 pounds.
Well, I feel so obligated every time I've ever been, like, because they walk by, you know, some places they have the little card you flip over, you know, to have them keep coming by, and if somebody else is at the table has a card flip over, I'm like, oh shit, I might as well get some of that too. It looks pretty good.
Do you ever have foods that you eat that, like, I don't know if it's like an age thing or just in general, that like certain things that you try to avoid because you know it's just going to make you feel like shit after eating it?
Yeah. Anything with dairy in it, yeah.
Anything with dairy?
Yeah, and I love cheese. So, yeah.
That's a rough spot. There's this dude that I was in a Final Fantasy XIV static with. He was a raid leader, and he has an allergy to both cheese and chicken. And I'm like, you poor son of a bitch. Like, that sucks, man.
Yeah, that
and the worst
suck.
part is he'd be like, yeah, I just got done having like I don't know, like some type of like grilled sandwich that's both cheese and chicken on it. And I'm like, so tonight's not going to go very well for you. And he's like, no, but it was really good.
But
like,
it was worth it.
I don't know if I could take that hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not like purely lactose intolerant, but like it messes with me if I eat too much of it. Sure.
I can't mess with spice as much as I used to anymore. I've definitely found out that like that's just the thing that I got to chill on. I can't have too much of it anymore, and if I do, I'll be paying for it in the long run.
Yeah.
And the pain is not worth the taste. It's not. I'm gonna tell you, it is not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. There's been a couple times where I'm like, I think I need to call an ambulance. Like, this is not good.
What's wrong? My hole is on fire. Could you send the fire department?
No, it's not even that. It's just like my body's just dead. Oh. Yeah. No, but work's been wild. It's gonna get more wild coming up here. So I don't know how like videos and stuff like that are gonna work. I'm just gonna kind of play it by ear. You guys might end up seeing some messages come out from me over on the YouTube channel where I'm like, hey, things are gonna kind of slow down for a little bit just because of work, and then it'll pick right back up after work. But yeah, no, because like the thing is that like I've been coming home and like still even so like I don't really have a whole lot of time to be able to like lay into games lately anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? I only got 2 or 3 hours and I got to go to bed. So like I get home, I come, I shake things out, feed the cat, sit down, been playing a little bit of Baldur's Gate, and then I go to bed. So yeah, it just makes me think once I work 6-7 days a week coming up pretty soon here, that's what it's going to be like really difficult. Like, you know, how much am I actually going to get done?
Yeah. And Baldur's Gate, like 2 or 3 hours is like literally like 2 conversations.
Yeah,
maybe a fight.
It's like 2 conversations, and then on top of that, it's like maybe 1 fight as long as you don't lose it. Which like I will say that like playing on normal, you kind of run through it pretty quick.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we switched over to the tactical or tactician for our co-op playthrough. It's actually made me think a lot more in my solo play that's on like balanced or whatever the normal deal. And because like right now I'm at my level, I'm walking through stuff, and it's like I don't have to really think about, you know, anything really, just mowing things over. So yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
So I know there was like a bunch of different stuff that I was like looking at like in the news lately. One of the things that caught my eye that I wanted to talk about today was the whole stuff with Dark and Darker, because that's really intriguing.
God, yes, it is, and it's and it depends on what side of the fence you are about the game. So if you're just like a casual gamer and you saw it on, you know, Twitch when it was popping off and doing all of its thing, you're like, oh, Dark and Darker is available for sale, and they dropped the lawsuit, right? And that's kind of how articles about it are. I mean, they are mentioning, you know, the real part of it, but not as much as they are about, oh yeah, the game's available, the lawsuit's dropped. So it kind of gives that false sense of security with the game.
Yeah.
But all they did was just kick it to Korea.
So, I read through some of the stuff, and what it sounds like is like the very gist of it is that the American courts were basically like, we don't understand why you're trying to try the case here. because they're like, this is between two South Korean companies. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you guys are trying to try the case here when, the evidence isn't here. A lot of the witnesses aren't here. Nothing's here. One, it's just going to drag it out longer. And then two, on top of that, it's just going to cause more issues, even trying to get like a solid verdict to begin with. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of folks that tried to kind of misrepresent this as a win.
Yeah. That's what I mean? That's what I was talking about. Yeah,
because it's not a win. All it is it's just the American courts being like, yeah, so we don't understand why you're trying to do this here, and that's it. That's basically it. They're like, hey, this needs to be handled in your country because that's where you guys are filing. That's where this is all coming from. It's between you. It's between you two. Go back home and handle this. What I did not know though, there's been a couple websites that have hinted at such, is that it was actually Nexon that was the one that wanted to try the case here. Initially, really? I thought it was actually Iron Mace that wanted it here. Just because that was just kind of the thing that was given off, right? Because the game was put onto Steam, so obviously that's where they're going to have to go through it. But apparently that's not what it is. Apparently Nexon was the one that wanted to do in the U.S. courts.
That's a weird choice.
Yeah, but what it makes me wonder is, it makes me wonder if like the Korean court system is going to end up being more lenient, or maybe South Korea takes the side of the workers more than it takes the side of corporations. I don't know if that's the case though. I
don't know. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Sound right. That doesn't seem like it would. I guess. When you brought up like people are misrepresenting it, they're almost turning it like, oh, maybe since Steam delisted it, now it's gonna come back on Steam. That's kind of like a rumored hush under the deal. Oh, they kicked it out of America, so now it's in Steam, but Steam's a global company. It's a global market. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't get that.
Well, I mean, the DMCA still stands until it's completely fleshed out in court. So I don't see Dark and Darker coming back onto Steam until the Korean lawsuit is settled.
Yep.
And from what I understand, both companies are suing each other, like suing one another. Sorry. So Iron Mace is suing them obviously for like lost wages or whatever, or like damages.
Lost profit, yeah.
Lost profit and damages from them suing them and taking them off of Steam. And then obviously the other way around, Nexon is suing them for stealing, the intellectual property.
Yeah, the game.
Yeah.
So did you see that the Twitch, even the people who are playing it right now on streaming on Twitch, like the Twitch viewership on it has dropped dramatically? Like people just
you have to understand. It. Like I mean, so this is my perspective on the game. Like I really, 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 really liked Dark and Darker. It's a game that I want to come out. It's a game that I want to play. But the problem is there's just a lot of things that just don't make a lot of sense to me and also don't seem up to par. And one is that like there's a lot of witness testimony that puts them in the sight lines of actually stealing intellectual property. Yeah. And then two, the other thing is as well is that like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth that they have this website where they post that they keep. I'm sorry, the whole like we're the good guy thing coming from a gaming company fucking creeps me out. It does. Like, we don't need microtransactions. We're the good guys. Like, that whole thing kind of creeps me out. And the reason why I say it creeps me out is like when you make that your mission statement and you put that on the front page of your website saying like, hey guys, we're the good guy. We want to fight against some of the evil corporations. Like, and that's basically word for word what's on their mission statement on their website, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it just feels like we're being deceived because like I just don't feel like that's the right, like, you want to know what the good approach is? Larian Studios putting out their game with no microtransactions at all and then posting it on their website as a description as part of the game, not part of their company's, belief system or anything like that. You know what I mean? Whereas Dark and Darker goes and does the exact opposite. They release their game with microtransactions. Oh, and then people go to defend it because they're such weird, like, we are so quick to defend and just like ride these game companies sometimes, and it's so weird. It's like, oh well, like before it's like, yeah, guys, these guys are the champions. They're gonna fight against pay to win games and microtransactions in video games. But then their game is released and it has microtransactions, and they're like, well, of course it has microtransactions.
They've got to make money.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden their tune changes, and it's like, guys, just like stick to a side. I get that you want to play the game, and that's fine, but like stick to whatever side of the fence you want to stick on. Don't just be so thirsty to play a game that you feel like you need to hop the fence every single time that developer's story changes. And this developer's story has changed, I don't even know how many times now. You know what I mean?
And what scares me the most is two things. One is as soon as it got strike down on Steam, they went to torrent. Huge red flag, right?
That was a big red flag.
The second one
that weirded me out. Like, even though I did play it through the torrent,
did too. Yeah.
It still freaked me out because I was like, yeah,
it's just bad. The second point of that is now they've got a I'm gonna throw my air quotes up, a publisher to help them do what they're doing to distribute the game. The lawsuit's not finished, just like Ian said. So let's say you paid I think it was at $45. I think it's something like that. I think it's $45.
There's a 30 and a $50 bundle. One comes with like some of like the paid currency.
So
and also like a supporter skin.
Yeah, $30 or $50, whatever your buy-in is.
To add some context to that, one of those skins is a skeleton skin. So then all of a sudden you blend in with the enemies that are already in the game.
It's not pay to win.
It's not pay to win though.
It's not pay to win. But so what happens? Let's say the Korean court sides with Nexus. Guess what? You just lost. They're not going to buy. They're not going to take that game and republish it. You know what I mean?
No,
you're not going to get your money back from Iron Mace.
No, the best case scenario is that they lose the court case and then have to pay royalties to Nexon and still release the game. That's like them meeting in the middle. You know what I mean?
That's best case, yeah.
That's best case scenario is that they have to pay royalties to Nexon, which I'm going to tell you that's probably not what's going to happen.
No, it's not what's going to happen. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, this could probably be tied up in court for years. That's probably why they went with the publisher. But this publisher seems pretty small, so I don't know if they have the money to sit there and stay in court like that.
I don't know if the publisher's supporting their court fees though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know either.
So like that's the whole other thing, man. Like it's my problem. Like people were like giving me pushback on this and like arguing with me about it, and really all it is just it's fanboyism is all they're doing, right? And it's like
God.
You can, and here's the thing, dude. Like you can like a game, and I get it, but like you have to understand, like from any onlooker's perspective, that's not a major fan or anything like that for Dark and Darker, the whole thing smells bad. Whole thing smells bad. I have to use this weird launcher. I have to use this I have to download it from a publisher site that I've never heard of in my entire life. Especially when we're talking about especially when we're talking about a PC game, where PC gamers, we use Steam and GOG. And we don't want to use Epic Games, and we don't want to really have to use, Battle.net or anything like that if we don't have to. We don't like being forced to have 7 different launchers to play our games. How do you think PC gamers are going to react to having to use a launcher for a publisher that they've never heard of ever?
Yeah. It sounds safe.
Yeah.
Sounds safe.
Obviously I don't know how secure that is. Last thing I want that to do.
I'm betting it's not.
I'm betting it's not.
I looked at their games, and I'm betting it's not.
I would imagine that most people that play PC games that value their gaming PC don't go to a lot of sketchy websites.
I don't.
I have a laptop and a cell phone for those kind of websites.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'll do my dirty browsing on something else. I will not go to something questionable on this thing because it costs too much money.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is have to like reflash Windows or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I'm still freaked out. I gotta take torrent off because it keeps sending me a pop up. So I don't like
Yeah,
it.
I think I already deleted most of that stuff, but yeah. So the Dark and Darker situation is it's interesting. I don't know what's gonna come of it, but it's just, yeah, I don't know, man. It just doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. You know, also I want to talk about is Diablo IV dead?
Yes.
I think it's dead.
Well, so here's the thing. I think
What happened?
I think for like we call ourselves casuals.
Yeah.
And we're not. I mean, we're not like pro gamers. I hate the word casual. We play more than most casual people do, right? But so at work, I still hear people like, "Yeah, hop back into Diablo. That last update they did, it really fixed my necromancer, or it really fixed this." And I'm just like, "Cool. What are you doing?" "Oh, running nightmare dungeons." I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
There's only
Cool.
3,000 people watching it on Twitch right now.
Yeah. So I think it's
What happened? What the top streamer has 349 people watching him. Like, nobody wants to watch this game and nobody's playing it. And it's one of those things where, you know, this is kind of brought into discussion when we're talking about the whole like Baldur's Gate situation and like things of like ethical game design and like what the demand of players are. Like, what do we actually want from games? Because, you know, we're you know, there was a lot of developers that were asking, like, we were asking for Blizzard happen. No shit, Wooly. Fucking keep it real. But it's one of those things where, you know, when we were getting all these developers pushing back on like the demands of gamers and saying that we want RPGs to look like Baldur's Gate in the future, the idea of that we want games to be like Baldur's Gate, we just want it to be good, man. We just want good games. We want them fleshed out. We want them made in a relatively ethical way. We don't want to get, you know, beaten up with microtransactions and stuff like that. Yeah. But the thing is that, you know, something I brought up in a couple of those videos is that when you design a game, and actually Actman put a really good video together about this the other day, which I'm kind of jealous about because I was going to make a video about this topic, and I think I still will because I can go into it a little bit more in depth than what he did for his. But when you design a game from a monetary perspective first, that means that you have to fit every single mechanism of that game into the monetization. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like player progression has to make sense in the scheme of the battle pass. Yep. Your abilities that you can use, well, those affect your player progression. So the balance of those abilities also have to work with the progression of the battle pass and of like getting cosmetics and gear and stuff like that. The gear has to be a certain way because it has to fit in with the progression of the battle pass and things like that. You know what I mean? Or like getting things like XP boosters, and so then all of a sudden your how fast you level also has to fit into the monetization of the game. And that's why Baldur's Gate 3 is such a wholesome design, is specifically because of the fact that they don't have to fit into these weird monetization boxes. They don't need to slow your progression down or not make gear look really good or anything like that, because none of that is reflective of what they're going to charge you for. They're charging you for the base game. So the base game just has to be good, and that's it. Wooly brings up a really good example as well when you're talking about like Hi-Fi Rush or Elden Ring, games that are just games. Simple as that. And those are the ones that are always the ones that we praise the most. You think about it over the last couple of years, what are the most talked about video games? Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy XVI, Elden Ring,
Baldur's Gate.
Well, Baldur's Gate, obviously, but you understand.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy. Think about the context of these games. These were games that were released just as games with nothing else that was attached to them that would force the company to have to design it in a way that they need to charge you more money or slow your progression down or anything like that. I've brought this up in the past, but this is the reason why crypto games will never go anywhere. And I'm going to make a video about this as well, but this is the reason why crypto games will never go anywhere, because fundamentally, it's all about monetization from the minute that you start making the game. That's the whole reason you're getting into it, is because you're trying to make this earn-to-play game where people are going to earn money while they're playing a video game, which is asinine. But you get what I'm saying, where it's like, well, if you're already going to come at it from that perspective, you're already not coming up coming at it from the perspective of we need to make the best game that we possibly can.
I don't understand crypto games. Okay?
Nobody does.
So, okay. I'll just drop it because I don't want to get in. We've already beat that horse to death.
I will beat that horse until it's dead.
But yeah, no, and you can see it in the design in Baldur's Gate. Okay, like for gearing purposes, gear does like one thing. It's either better armor. Generally, it's going to have better armor, and then it'll do one thing, right? It's going to give you something. It's super simple to read, super simple to understand. This is going to help my character. This isn't going to help my character. This is going to give me another ability. That's it. I don't have to worry about if it's, like with Diablo, where they so just butchered the way, like, well, if I'm standing close to this and I hit that over there, then I'm going to do extra damage. You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
So,
it's just easier to read.
Did you see that Ackman video on Diablo 4 is getting worse?
Yeah,
okay.
I did.
So like I have a video that I'm also making as well. That's actually on a pretty much similar to the same topic. Do you really think that they designed the gear in such a way just to keep you looking at it longer, like tried to make it more complicated just so that you spend more time looking gear? Do you think that they really parsed it that far for the purpose of like player attention?
I think
that's what he posed, right? He was like they specifically designed the gear to make sure that it wasn't cohesive, so then that way you would spend longer looking at the screen, so you'd play the game longer.
I think what they did was they made it so convoluted that you needed like specific roles for stuff. Does that make sense? So you can get a piece of armor that you want, and then on top of that, now I'm either gonna have to grind for gold and resources to get the specific roles on that armor that I want. Does that make sense? So that right in itself is a game loop. So they just drop you the shittier armor to have you sit there and re-roll it. Is that, I don't know if that.
Yeah. Nia kind of brings it up, and actually to kind of follow up with that is that they're saying gearing isn't about the continuous play. Gearing is about hoping for the right stats. It's the only way to play. So the thing is that the philosophy that they have put into Diablo 4 is the same philosophy that we've seen RNG. Like, it's actually more on the scale of a mobile game. If any of you guys have ever played like a gacha game, for instance, and this isn't like rolling for gacha characters. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the equipment that you have to farm while you're playing a gacha game to put onto those characters. You're always looking for the best combination of stats, right? You want high crit, you want high, depending on what kind of character it is or something like that. You're always looking for the best rolls for each piece of equipment. And that's no different than any ARPG to begin with anyway. You're always looking for that kind of stuff. So I would say that, yeah, I believe that they probably diluted the pool of equipment by including a ton of useless substats.
Yep.
That just that obfuscate your ability to understand and also find the things that you need. I don't believe, however, that they made it that way to keep you looking at your gear longer. Like, I didn't really agree with that part of it.
I don't agree with that.
And the other thing is too is that like it's trying to like, this is just my opinion, and chat, you guys are welcome to push back on me on this. I don't think that Activision Blizzard is coordinated enough to do that. No. I really don't. People want to try to act like Activision Blizzard is like this like evil genius corporation, like the fucking villain of the villain of the industry. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they're that coordinated, especially when you bring up the fact that they had over 6,000 people involved in the development of Diablo 4. In what world do you need 6,000 people to work on a video game? And if you are having 6,000 people work on a video game, that must be the biggest game ever in existence. I mean, I'm talking like 6 times. This needed to be World of Diablo, Craft,
Starfield
stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like when you're talking 6,000 people working on one video game. This needs to be the biggest, the most complex. I can't even imagine how much they spent on developing that game. Oh, just on salaries. Because, like, that is fucking crazy. That is crazy. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think that they're coordinated enough to ever be able to pull off something as sophisticated as, so guys, these are the things that we're going to design into the game to keep their eyes on the screen. No, I don't think it's that at all. I think that they just don't have any communication or organization, and they didn't actually have a clear leader until the last 2 years of development when Rod Ferguson hopped in. So that means you have no clear vision, no clear leadership, and that all comes on that. And the person that actually does have a clear vision and clear leadership it comes in with only 2 years left in development. And how much of a clear vision is somebody like him going to have? You know what I mean?
Yeah, not much. It's almost like they try to do what they did with Diablo 3 of just like throw in gear. Okay, we want to put in a battle pass. We'll put in battle pass for cosmetics. We'll also have a store for cosmetics. I'm not saying that they just build all that stuff for it, but it feels like it. Like which is so weird also is because the cosmetics in the game, like in-game cosmetics, look pretty good. You know what I mean? So that was kind of a weird toss, but it's the same thing. It's like they threw all these concepts together. I think we talked about it last time where they like the reason the resistances don't work is because that group probably didn't talk to this group. And that group didn't talk to this group. So they just threw all this stuff in, shuffled it up, and hoped that it was a good, Olive Garden salad. And it wasn't. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at. I just don't think the coordination is necessarily there for them to have pulled off a, evil scheme of trying to keep players engaged. And here's my other pushback. If you have a marketing team and a product team that is that sophisticated to come up with this evil plan to keep the players' eyes on the screen so then they buy more microtransactions and they buy the battle pass. Well, the thing is that the game has to be fun and the game has to make sense, because if the game isn't fun and it doesn't make sense, people are just going to stop playing the game.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing too, is like if you obfuscate the gear and you make gearing too difficult to understand and it has all these random stats and stuff like that, and then people also in the same hand want to say that this game is made for casual players. No, it's fucking not. No, it's not. Casual players will go back to playing fucking Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, why would I sit here and try to bang my head up against the side of the wall to understand why I need frozen cold and chill damage, or why I need to have werebear, werewolf, wild werebear, wild werewolf, wild shape-shifted, like all these different things. No, casual players aren't going to mess with that stuff because they don't have the time to. They got 1 or 2 hours a day to play a game anyway.
I don't know. Like, they even said in their own campfire. I remember this specifically. I think it might have been the second one that they said that there was
or Madden.
There was a finite into Diablo 4, right? Like there was a finite part for you to stop playing until like seasonal content. So I don't think they nefariously like, oh, we want people to just stay in the game. You know what I mean? I don't think they're not smart enough to do that. They're just
no.
And the game's not even built towards that. So
no. And then plus on top of that, the other thing is that it's like, again, I just bring it up. It has to be a fun game if you want. That's the thing. Like part of the discussion that I'm going to have in this video is that you want to know a truly diabolical, evil video game? One that is really good, really addictive, and then has underhanded microtransactions.
Yeah.
That's what you want to talk about a evil plan. Yeah, there's your evil plan. Your evil plan is have an incredible game and then underhanded microtransactions. Because here's the thing. What's your options are either A, don't play this awesome game that you have a ton of fun playing, or B, slide them a couple bucks.
You know what? I think
Genshin Impact. Auto brings it up perfectly. Genshin Impact is the antithesis. Is that the right antithesis? Or is that the opposite? Is
epitome?
Antithesis the opposite?
Epitome.
Epitome.
Okay.
Epitome, yeah. Epitome. Yeah. This is the epitome of that exact thing, right? They make a really good game that people really enjoy, that has these awesome storylines that people really enjoy engaging with, that's really fun and fluid gameplay, and then they give you gotcha waifus. And then it's like, but I really like playing the game. Well, here's the thing, and you can totally play the game and enjoy it and not spend a dime. Or you could have your favorite character that's half dressed and is also a cat girl with like half boob hanging out in a short skirt, and she goes, "Nyan." You know what I mean? Like that's the genius of good game design. There is that you could technically make a really good game, but then also have underhanded microtransactions. So when people are like, "Oh, Diablo IV was designed in this nefarious way," no, it was designed in a fumbling way. They just dropped the ball. That's all it was. They just dropped the ball. I think too many of the Diablo staff were far too involved with Diablo Immortal. And it's also been so long since they made Diablo 3 that I think a lot of those folks just didn't know what they were doing. And Diablo 3, I think, didn't really have a whole lot of... I love Diablo 3, by the way. I love Diablo 3.
I did too.
It's one of the games I probably have some... I would say I have the second most hours... Now, it's probably fourth. The fourth most hours in Diablo 4 of any other video game that I have of all time. I think my most played video games are probably World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Terraria, and then Diablo 3.
There's no way you've got more hours in Terraria than Diablo 3. There's no way. There's no way. There's just no way. But
have you seen the villages I've created? Dude, Mark, there are times I just log into Terraria just to build. Like, just to build stuff.
That's fair.
I do it all the time.
That's fair.
I do it all the time.
The most nefarious AAA studio. Okay, I don't count gacha games as being nefarious because they are gacha games. It's by nature. It's like an understood you. It's a gacha game. Ubisoft. And then right under Ubisoft, I'd put EA.
Actually, I would say 2K. 2K and EA are like the same side of the same coin. Bro, look at NBA 2K.
Okay.
It literally has a fucking roulette wheel in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I put them with I would put them equal with EA. I'll give you that. But Ubisoft has single player games, single player only games that you can buy XP boost for.
Yeah, but the thing is nobody plays Ubisoft games. You
don't think people play Assassin's Creed? They do.
I guess they played Valhalla. I guess they'll probably play the one that's upcoming as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Odyssey was a great game.
I'll leave that ground to you. That's fine.
But what a single player game then like an XP boost, so they already gated your XP in the game.
And GTA has a subservice. Yes, it does.
Yep.
Here's the thing. All the people excited for Grand Theft Auto 6, just wait. Just wait. Because here's the thing. I don't think 2K understood how popular Grand Theft Auto 5 was going to be far past its release date, especially with people popping into GTA RP, right?
Yep.
Which I think sometime me and you should try that. I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
It'd be interesting.
I'm down.
We'll see if the folks on the channel ever want to see us try that. Maybe we'll do that for a stream night sometime just to see what's up. But I don't think that they foresaw how popular their game would be far after its initial launch, right? And it's only continued to grow. The community around Grand Theft Auto has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Now, where 2K has gotten so much more greedy than they've ever been in their entire existence. I mean, did you?
The Red Dead port. Yes.
The Red Dead port. But I actually went and watched. This is back in May. Zelnick, Strauss Zelnick. He's the CEO. He's the CEO for 2K. He was on CNN and also NBC, and he's just talking about. He's just like, oh yeah, we're talking about the future of the future of AI and gaming, microtransactions have been making us some incredible third and fourth quarter profits. And, yeah, we got some stuff that we're cooking up that people are really going to be looking forward to, that's for sure. And then they go and they release, Red Dead Redemption 1 on PlayStation 4. But the thing is it's like
and
these
Switch.
These guys have been raking in most of their money on re-releases and
online.
microtransactions.
Yep. Online is what's carried that company for the last 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, again, we're going to think about this. 2K has been recording record profits year over year after the release of Grand Theft Auto 5, and GTA 5 came out when?
Oh, shit. 2014?
Yeah.
Originally?
Yeah. 9 years ago. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? You know what I mean? They're raking it off of microtransactions and nickel and diming their people. So when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out and people are like, this is going to be the best game ever, 2K is like, yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yes. We're going to make you pay to connect to the game every day. $1. $1 a day.
Dude, I would not be. I mean, I know they're going to do their GTA Online anyway. It's free like it is now, right? God, I can't even imagine. That's going to be ridiculous. Yeah, you're right. Anniversary edition's coming up. 10-year anniversary edition.
Really? Well, I just got an earthquake alert.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did it happen?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, so you got, okay, so California, you've got a hurricane going on right now.
Yes.
You've got an earthquake alert.
Yep.
You can't use plastic straws, and you can't buy vape juice.
Yeah.
Why do you live in California?
I don't know, man. It's falling
Okay.
apart out here. It's falling apart. Yeah, I just got a earthquake alert. It says expect light shaking. Estimate M5.6 about 62 miles away. So that's probably
5.6?
a 5.6 60 miles away. So I might get a little like
Little tumbly.
a little rocky. Yeah, a little rocky. That shouldn't be too bad though. Just go for a little
jump on the back of your neck and like latch
dude.
on.
I tell you what, there was one night where I was streaming and playing Final Fantasy XIV, and while raiding, like fucking earthquake hit, and I mean I like a fucking shaker, like nothing crazy, not gonna knock a building down or anything like that, but it was a shaker where I'm like sitting here like this mid raid, still keeping up my DPS, absolute pro gamer, and I'm like, yeah, boy,
Still parsing.
still parsing. We're getting a fucking purple tonight, boys. Let's go.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about Act 2? Our thoughts on Act 2?
Well, I figured we should probably talk a little bit more about Act 1, but we won't get super spoily because I know that there's people, I've already seen 5 or 6 people in the chat already talk about how they're still waiting to be able to play the game to begin with.
I don't want to ruin this game for people.
I really don't. I honestly don't want to discuss the story of the game for a while still.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I think we can still talk about the game mechanically. We can talk about the progression of characters so far as like building and stuff like that. And just overall thoughts of the game, but I don't want to get into like spoiler territory because you never know.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like
no, that's 100% fair.
Otherwise, I would have to brand the video for it. I would have to do all kinds of stuff like that, and I just rather not.
There's two. This game is too good to spoil it for people who haven't had a chance to play it yet. That's the way I feel about it. Like it's just too good.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you saw this, but somebody did post it in chat that the first world this fastest record is already in place. It was 43 hours.
Is it 43 hours?
43 hours.
Okay, I thought it was like 8.
That's speed running. Speed running is 43 hours. Good God. And that's no glitch. It's a no glitch speed run. So there are ways to be able to glitch it and complete the game faster. So I'm wondering if that's, I don't know, without even talking about because there is a way to technically get an ending.
Yeah.
But
I'm so curious with all the stupid choices that I've made because I'm doing my solo. I'm doing it like I'm letting it lay. I'm letting it lay where it is. if I miss out on the roll, I keep rolling. I just keep going, right?
Yeah.
So I've got some, and then I've also made really bad choices, just to see what would happen. And I'm curious to see what kind of ending I'm going to get, because right now it does not look good for my party.
Oh, apparently that world speed run was not actually a real thing. That was me being trolled by chat. So.
Oh, cool.
Thanks. That's a mod, by the way. We're gonna have a little talk later. Have a little talk later. So anyway, so dude, it's so crazy how the game can continue to surprise me even while I have six different playthroughs going on all at once.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that like really like catches me off guard. Is like how vastly different every single character's story is, like the origin characters, and like befriending them and knowing their background and how they react to you, and like what that means for the overarching narrative as well as their personal narrative. The diverging storylines between all of the different characters as well, like just NPCs that you meet, different paths that you can take with that.
Because there's been plenty of times that you're like, "Hey, did you do this?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't even see that." Hey, did you do this? No.
Which is wild because like so both you and Jackie, I cannot actually have any conversation about Baldur's Gate narratively because our stories have diverged insanely now. Like what you're doing, what she's doing, and what I'm doing are like completely different. Like there are active people in my story that you don't even have.
Yep.
You don't 100%. Even have.
No, don't have them.
She has her playthrough is very similar to yours. Her playthrough is very similar to yours, but it's just wild that like you can't even really like discuss things with your friends that much. Like you can a little bit, but you have to like kind of preface it, be like, so where are you at? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, so what part are you at? Oh, that sounds real cool. All right.
Who's in that town, by the way? What's a couple of names of the NPCs that are in that town? And they're like, they name a couple, and you're like, oh, so you haven't heard of this person? And they're like, who's that? And I'm like, never mind. Never mind.
Play again. Start over.
Yeah, we'll talk about it another time. Believe me, there's definitely some things that I'd love to talk about with some of these stories. That's the other thing too, is that like when we're talking about like, oh man, it'd be really cool to talk about the narrative of like, say, Act 1 together. Well, we can't, because there's things that you've done and things that I have done that are completely different just in Act 1 alone. So even you and I discussing with one another what's happened in our games could spoil it for one another.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. You know, just best just to keep it to yourself.
Just keep it to yourself.
So I would like to talk about some criticisms that I've seen for Baldur's Gate. Some active criticisms that I've seen for Baldur's Gate. First and foremost, one of the things that I've seen discussed quite frequently, and the conversation's getting more and more heated by the day, is like it's dice rolls. It's actually just this is wild to say, but it's actually not even the dice rolls. It's just the implementation of Baldur's Gate of Dungeons and Dragons into Baldur's Gate. There's a lot of people that are not happy with it.
Yeah. Well, there's like, okay, so there's some rules for 5th edition that Larian just went by the book on. You know what I mean? And then there's some that they took a little bit of liberty with. And so some people think that it's dumb for certain things to be in the game. Versus and I get it, they're the purist. I don't look at it like that. I just enjoy it for the game of what it is. You know what I mean? I don't. It's that for me. It's that argument of the book was better. You know what I mean? The book was better than the movie. And right now the game's really good. I'm not really tripping on what they do with the rules of D&D, and I know purists, because it's a D&D title, they have the right to be upset about it. They do, because they bought the game thinking it was going to be something different than what they thought. But I don't think it's that big of a deal.
So it's not even like the purest discussion. Like the things that people are bringing up that they don't like is like so. As an example, did you read Polygon's review of Baldur's Gate?
No, I tried to avoid Polygon.
I know, but I'll probably still make a video about it anyway because I love frying these critics, quote unquote critics. So one of the things that that they brought up that they don't like is that Baldur's Gate 3 is it's an unfeeling, cold, robotic game. It's not a flexible DM. So like, which is obvious, right? We're playing a video game. So of course, like, the game does a really good job of weaponizing your I don't know, realistic solutions to fantasy game problems, right? Yeah. I can shoot down a candelabra and it hits a bunch of people and they get hurt, right? I can drop a brick and it kills a bunch of people and they get hurt. I can put some barrels around and blow them all up, or I can make an oil slick and light it on fire.
Or there's a lot of different things. And stand and play. Everybody comes to see you, and then we blow them all up.
Yeah, there's that too. There's a lot of different things that you can do to have like a really creative experience while playing Baldur's Gate, where you actually really can solve a lot of combat your own way. However, at the same time, it's a video game.
Yeah.
And the thing is like people act like it's the like they're like, oh well, it's the fail. They say it's the failure of Larian, and it's the failure of Baldur's Gate. And I'm like, it's not the failure of anything. No, this is just the limitation of software. It's the limitation of the technology. They imagine, like, somebody also brought up how, like, in like narrative roles and things like that, they're like, oh well, when I'm playing when I'm playing D&D with my friends, my barbarian friend can jump in the middle of conversation and take over for like an intimidation role, be like, you know, push the leader of the conversation out of the conversation, and then they roll for intimidation. And it's like, well, could you imagine how many more permutations would have to be necessary in all of Baldur's Gate for that to even be possible?
Yeah, I mean, any game you ever play, you are literally in a box. Larian gives us a lot of tools and a lot of options. Did you ever used to read those books that it was a choose your own adventure?
I don't know how to read
those. Okay, so basically how it would work is you would get to the end of a page and it was like, if you want to do this, turn to page this. If you want to do this, turn to page this, right? And it would go through the whole story. They give us a lot of options to do, but there's a finite amount of options regardless. There is a finite, like, this game would have to be so big. You would have the AI that you would have to have for what the person that was talking about the D&D, like, to where you actually could go, you could talk into your mic and say blah blah blah. It would be insane. You would say something and that's the game would react to it. We're just not there yet. You wait on that hurricane or tornado? Which one? Is it Godfire coming down?
No.
Okay.
No. It's just planes falling out of the air.
Gotcha.
So it's living hell on earth over here right now. So it's one of those really weird oh my god, my tongue. It's one of those really weird things where we have to have somewhat realistic expectations for the game, for the games that we play, right? It's one thing to say, and we've talked about it before and multiple times, especially when we're talking about Baldur's Gate and its effect on gaming overall and our expectations for games going forward and our expectations for the AAA industry going forward. But it's a whole other thing when we start demanding games be something that there's just not possible to be yet. Where you're like, yeah, no, they did a really good job, but it should have been more. And it's like, how much more? Like, the game's a masterpiece. Does it need some, like, you know, some working out some of the bugs and stuff like that? Yeah, but outside of that, the game is an absolute banger. Could you imagine? Like, I don't even know how much longer would the development cycle need to take for them to have been able to implement these kind of things that people are talking about. And I don't even, and the thing is I'm like, narratively, I don't even know what the scope of something like that would look like.
can you name another game that gets this complaint? Because I could sit there and do it about every game. I could sit. Okay, let's say Halo. Well, you know what? He's trained in martial arts. He should be able to use nunchucks. Why can't I use nunchucks? Why didn't they put nunchucks in the game?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could do this about every game. That makes no sense. So like I can't think of another game that's been criticized like that before.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like seeing people in chat like, so there's an earthquake. There's an earthquake. I just felt a shake. Me sitting here like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt anything yet. I'm close to the water.
Because you're dead inside.
I'm close to the water, so it might be that. Also, I don't actually sit in a chair. I just float above the ground. So
you got one of those exercise balls. Don't lie.
That actually sounds. I wonder if that would actually be comfortable.
Shut up.
And then especially
you need to leave. You just need to leave California now. I need an exercise ball to get my back straight. Well, I eat my broccoli.
I am actually a mind flayer. Very true. Very true. I do have the ability to levitate.
Speaking of which, I did get the mind blown achievement, and I'm not going to spoil what that is. But if you want to, anybody in the chat wants to look up what the mind blow achievement is, yeah, blow, mind blown achievement is. I did that, and I laughed hysterically through the entire cutscene, and I cried a little bit because it was that funny. So, yeah.
Okay. Is it sex? It's pretty much always. You know, it's Baldur's Gate. This is the like horniest game in the world.
It's not about the act. It's about the who.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's man, it's just weird that like so we've solidified that Baldur's Gate 3 is this awesome game. It's this future of RPGs. This is something that we want to look forward to in future games to come. But then also at the same time, you actively now have people that are like, yeah, but it should be more. And it's like, hold on, dude. Like, so that's where that's where their criticism actually has to go. It has to go to that next level.
Yeah,
well,
like, what a great game. But you know what? You just didn't do enough. It needs to be another 150 gigs.
Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting for the Starfield Andes to be like, yeah, but think about how great Baldur's Gate 3 would be if it had more planets to go to. How many planets does Baldur's Gate 3 have? Looks like it's just one.
So only what was it? They said 10% of the planets will have life on them.
Yeah.
Okay. 10%. Of that 10%, like
Baldur's Gate 3 has 2. I guess it technically does have 2.
It has. Right. No, it has more than that.
Well, there's other planes of existence.
There's other planes. There's 9.
There's other dimensions. How many dimensions does Starfield have? 1. So, oh man. So, so we didn't get to talk about this yet. Also, Baldur's Gate also broke its consecutive record last weekend again before the end of the podcast, or that Sunday.
That's crazy, man. This game deserves it. I'm glad people are enjoying it.
Yeah, and then the other thing that ended up happening as well is that the game also became the highest rated PC game of all time on Metacritic.
All right, I'm going to throw out some game titles to you, okay? I'm going to throw some game titles out to you.
Go ahead.
Half-Life 2.
Yep.
It's got a better score. Right? Baldur's Gate 3, it's got a better score.
Yeah.
I mean, Half-Life 2 was basically like the greatest PC game of all time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, at one point in time, the king has to be dethroned, right?
Yeah, he does.
Plus, on top of that, the other thing is you have to, like, add on to the fact that, like, it's also, like, a generational difference where I'm sure there's a ton of, like today's generation players that have never played Half-Life 2.
There probably are.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously, like, a few that have, but there's, like, recency bias. You're going to have it with that as well. I'm sure if they make a really good Half-Life 2 remake, that it would probably
or Half-Life 3. Half-Life 3 would blow up the internet.
Half-Life 3 would end the world.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like that would be a 4 Horsemen event.
And you know what's crazy is, okay, so it's critically reviewed well. It's the community has reviewed it well.
Be like Half-Life 2, Left 4 Dead 3, Dino Crisis, and I don't know what would be the other one. No Game, No Life Season 2. Sorry, I had to bring anime in there for no reason.
Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You're talking about Half-Life. We're talking about how the game had beaten the overall
Anyway, so
time.
what's crazy about the whole thing is it's so high critically acclaimed, and there are people that just like this. Like, if you hate on this game, I'm not saying that the game's not for you. Like, it's just not your style of game, but it's not a bad game. But there's people who just hate to hate, and like those people, I just feel those are the people who wake up and like just kick their dog for no reason. You know what I mean? Those are the type of people that do stuff like that, like just to hate the hate. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. Which I mean, we're gonna be getting into that soon enough.
Yeah.
Soon
it's
enough.
Fanboys.
So overall, like that, the only other criticism that I really see with Baldur's Gate lately has also been like on the side of like bugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like, dude, this is like, it's weird for them to try to want to put this in league with something like Cyberpunk or something like that, where it's like, well, the difference is that like this is actually a game that was finished. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We're talking about it. We're talking about two things that are leagues apart. Like Cyberpunk was nowhere near where it needed to be before it was released, and then Baldur's Gate is where it needs to be. The only problem is that you just have a game that's so dense, so narratively dense, that it's really hard to be able to parse out every single ending, every single possible situation that players could put themselves into, to find a lot of bugs and issues that are in the game. Now, there are some persistent ones that, yes, they probably should have gotten ironed out, and you can really see them pop up mostly in Act 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But that's
Lower
also
City,
where the least amount of the game has ever been played before, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they should have added more to early access?
Ooh.
Do you think they should have given early access Act 2?
No, I don't. Are you gonna ask why? Because
I would imagine you're probably gonna tell me anyway.
I don't, and it's because of So, how different was the story from release from early access? Completely different. Characters have different motivations. The absolute's a whole different concept altogether, just in Act 1.
Yeah.
So no, I think playing so much of early access and thinking that I had this whole thing down, I was overly surprised when I got to Act 2. You know what I mean? Like, it was too much. It was too much of a reward for me to have gotten it. And like, I understand what you're talking about bug wise, trying to figure stuff out that way. But they've got their own playtesters for that. You know what I mean? We did a good job. The community, we did a good job of figuring out attack bugs, portal bugs, camp bugs. all the nuts and bolts, or what the framework of the game. I don't think we needed to see and I didn't have any problems in 2, so that wouldn't have been enough to fix 3. I didn't have any issues in 2.
I didn't have any issues in Act 2. Like, I'm sure there was something, and here's the other thing too. I brought this up. I brought this up before, at least in conversation, where things like bugs. Or no, I brought this up to you. Now I remember. So things like bugs are less noticeable when you're enjoying the game,
Yeah.
because you just don't. You either just don't see it, or you just shrug it off when you see it. You know what I mean? You're just whatever.
I think of it like, if you're making burgers at your house and you find a hair in your burger, you're not going to throw the burger away. You're just going to pull the hair out and eat it, right? I am. I didn't say restaurant. I said at your house.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, well, yeah.
I said at your house. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, yeah, it's gross. There's a hair in there, but
yeah, is what it is. Yeah. I get you. I get you. All right. I feel you. So,
you're like, I ain't eating no damn guy's hair.
You caught me off.
There's a hair on my steak.
Like, wait, what kind of hair?
It doesn't matter. If that burger's good, you're gonna eat it. I'm just saying. It doesn't.
What if it's short and curly?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat that tater salad.
So, So you when you're really enjoying something, you're less likely to have it be like super immersion breaking.
Yeah.
I had a problem.
More forgiving. Yeah.
I had a problem in Act 3 where pieces of equipment were no longer showing on my characters. They just stopped. By no fault of my own or anything like that. It was just something kind of weird that ended up happening right at the very beginning of Act 3. When I first enter into Act 3, I started experiencing a fair share of bugs and stuff like that. It wasn't noticeable or game breaking or like game breaking. Definitely not. I haven't encountered anything game breaking in general. But when you see something that persists for long enough, then you start seeing the cracks. Yeah. That's something that I definitely can say that I ended up seeing later, and that was something that was with Act 3. Yeah. But like without spoiling anything, like Act 3 is dense. Yeah. It is very dense. Like it is thick. Like that shit is crazy. So it makes a lot of sense why that's where the most issues are going to be, and that's where they're going to be the most persistent more than any other place. Yeah. Thomas says there was a character model bug I found yesterday where Shadowheart was phased halfway through the floor, and then the top half of her body disappeared. It was hilarious. Some of those ones end up being funny. Like mine, I had one in camp where my character was permanently just laying down and just floating across the ground while I was walking around camp. And I was actually upset that it didn't persist into the open world where I could just float around in combat. Because I tried to do like an attack in midair, and you just watch as my character's like laying down on the ground, and it's just like it was the greatest thing ever. I was like, oh dude, I want to get clips of this, but yeah.
I was running to Tom's. I was running a nudist colony, and I hit a bug to where their armor just disappeared, and I could fix it by just switching to default. You know what I mean? Which is weird. Like it's so weird, like because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it completely doesn't matter. Because if I'm gonna look, like if everyone in my camp's naked, and then I go out in the world, I feel weird about them not having clothes on. Is that not weird? It's kind of weird.
Oh yeah, you're like, girl, get yourself dressed.
Yeah, put yourself together.
Put
yourself together.
Yeah. I feel you. No, absolutely.
My biggest, because we had the talk last time we played that wasn't really having any issues in Act 3 either, until I started playing this morning around 2:00 this morning. Yeah. And I got into a couple hairy situations, and then my frames they just dropped. They dropped down to like 40, and then 20, and then back up to 40, and then 50. Kind of bounced all over the place. And I just kept playing like, oh, it'll clear up, and it didn't. So I just ended up saving my game, exiting out, and then restarting it, and then I didn't have any more issues. So I don't know if that's a memory. I don't know if that's a memory leak deal or if it's
memory leaks would be far more like noticeable and apparent because they'd be all over the place. You know what I mean? Yeah. You'd see them. If they have a memory issue, you'd see that like quite regularly. So of course, in that situation, you're gonna probably, I don't know. I haven't seen anything about memory leaks, so that's which is probably a really good thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really haven't had too many problems with the game. So when people are kind of complaining about bugs and stuff like that, I feel like as gamers in general, we are much more forgiving because we understand that there's going to be a little bit of jank, especially when you're talking about an RPG of the size. And also, this is not a AAA game. I don't know if anybody knew that, but this is an independent company. So our expectations for what they can achieve is lower.
It is.
You know, my bar is lower. I would expect, and this is the funny thing, I would expect a higher level of polish from Bethesda than I would Larian. Yeah. Even though we know we can't. Yeah. But more on that later. More on that at 5. Yeah. Oh man. So it's one of those things. Outside of that, I think everything's been good. The other main this is the conversation I wanted to have. The other main thing that I've seen has been a pain point for a lot of players and a lot of like bad user reviews has always been a lot of people they're buying into the hype.
Yeah, buying a CRPG.
There's a lot
they've never
of
played
people.
a CRPG.
There's a lot of people that are just buying into the hype. Oh, it's the most, it's the best PC game of all time on Steam right now, or on best PC game of all time on Metacritic. Well, I got to go buy it now.
Yep.
And then they go buy it, and they go, this game sucks. It's turn-based. This isn't Call of Duty. This is bullshit. You know what I like?
You know my favorite comment, and I think it was on your last video where you're doing the hot takes video, was, why can't this be real-time combat? Could you even imagine?
I don't even know how that would even work. The only other thing, so somebody else posed an excuse for people's poor purchasing decisions, and they said, well, maybe it's people that played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, and I'm like, in what fucking world? In what world? Tell me where this world is that these people are like, oh, I played Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 fucking 20 years ago. Now this must be the same game. No. Come on, man.
Do you think,
Come
okay,
on.
You know what? Do you think this is the same case of what happened to between Overwatch and what was that shitty one that it killed immediately because people were comparing the two?
Oh, that was so sad. That was a really good game.
They confused the other one.
Yeah, that was
Battleborn. Yeah.
Battleborn.
So those two games launched at the same time. Battleborn being more of a MOBA than and then they kept saying if you even the community for some reason did this, that Overwatch was a MOBA because it was a hero shooter.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it completely just killed that game. Well, the game wasn't great, but it also it destroyed that game. It destroyed it. That game died so fast.
But the problem is with Battleborn positioned itself as competition to Overwatch.
It did.
That's what the problem was. That was the folly of the genius of marketing. They did a really shit job of marketing Battleborn, and that's the reason why that game failed, because they positioned themselves as direct competition to Overwatch, which is a really bad thing to do. Yeah. Overwatch was fucking simple, it was easy, and it was super approachable, and it wasn't a fucking MOBA.
Yep.
Whereas Battleborn was not.
No
Battleborn was a MOBA, and it was not easy and easy to learn for a lot of people. So of course it's not going to do nearly as well. Somebody says ARG Dark Alliance. Well, and I'm not talking about Dark Alliance. I'm talking about Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, an absolutely fantastic Diablo clone. Yep. Dark Alliance 1 and 2 were absolutely awesome RPGs.
Yep.
Awesome ARPGs. But I highly doubt that people were buying Baldur's Gate 3. You know what's actually really funny? I bought Baldur's Gate 3 because I enjoyed Dark Alliance 1 and 2.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, initially, 3 years ago when I bought into early access, I'm like, dude, I'm like Baldur's Gate. I'm like, I fucking love Dark Alliance 1 and 2. You have to understand, when I got into RPGs, first it was Final Fantasy 9, I think, Grandia, Record of Lodoss War, Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1, Dark Alliance 2, Champions of Norath. And then by then I was like, I play RPGs now. This is what I do. And I had a fighting game phase.
I still dabble in the old fights.
Do you really?
Yeah, I love them. I'm going to play Mortal Kombat 1 when it comes out.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
Nah, you changed my mind. Yeah. Other than, like I said, just and I think, honestly, I think these bugs are going to get worked out and ironed out as they go. They're not abandoning the game anytime soon. Promise you on that. So I look forward to see how it runs on console. And notice I didn't add the S on that, just console.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I also I was thinking about it when you said it. You know what? Do you have your all your NPCs highlighted? They have the yellow thing around them?
No.
You don't?
I know the button, but no.
No, not the button. You can have it where it's just on screen. They're always highlighted. And I've got it on. I'm wondering if that's caused the slowdown part of it. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. You know what's something that's really cool, so I'm getting ready to do my review for Baldur's Gate 3. I'm gearing up for it. It's going to probably be pretty long, to be honest. I'm actually thinking it's probably going to be like 30 to 45 minutes long. It's going to be a very detailed, very heartfelt discussion. And I'm excited to do it. But one of the things, like one of the really like small little details. So I'm not going to spoil anything, okay? But there's like your characters react to the places they are. So as an example, like when we're in this place that's filled with lava, all the characters are sweating. There's sweat dripping down their brow all over the place. They're soaked because it's hot. It's hot as shit. A lot of games don't bother doing things like that.
Yeah.
Adding that
It's
small
nuance.
those little nuances to the game that add just like that much more character. And it just goes to show how much care and attention to detail went into this game. And I genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite things is when your character is not the one talking, but you're forced to watch the whatever, and you're reacting. Your facial expressions are reacting to what the other character's saying. Yeah. Like sometimes it's so goofy. There's there was one because I'm playing my solo as Gale, and Karlach is just going off on somebody, right? Like you know how when she gets mad, she starts flaming up and stuff. And I'm just over there like this. So
there's some times where like there's some instances in this game that have actually just made me like cry laughing because of like sometimes your character will kind of bug out a little bit in conversation, and they'll make like they'll have expressions on their face that don't
match
actually
the emotion.
Don't like at all, where it's just like there's been times where like Shadowheart is like she's revealing something like really heartfelt, and we're sharing a moment, and then my character, you just turn and see my character's like
ew.
like I can't tell if it's shock or stress or what, but my character's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And it's like, yeah, you do, because you're going to get a spicy scene soon. It's funny.
God.
It's funny. So I'm trying to think, what else with Baldur's Gate? How do you think that this the week of the PlayStation launch is going to affect like the overall discourse for the game?
God, this is when it's going to start tying into fanboys. So it launches the same day as Starfield. Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about that part of it yet.
Okay.
I'm just.
I don't know.
Just saying,
I think people are going. I think people are going to really enjoy the game. But I think there's going to be tenfold the amount of people who bought a game that they didn't know about.
Yeah.
For
yeah. I think there's gonna be a lot of people. Because here's the thing, this is not mouse and keyboard, right?
No, and the game's out so early that you want to. I think I saw somebody in the chat. I think it was Laura, saying that they're avoiding any type of spoilers of it, so they might not even know what the game is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's going to happen, but I think there's going to be a lot of people who enjoy it. They have something to jam on through the
I think as
holidays.
Long as people know it's a turn-based game and know that they're going to have to be patient with the controls,
then
they should be fine.
Yep. And
I'm going to tell you right now, I am not good playing Divinity 2 or DOS 2 on controller. I have it on console. No. I couldn't do it.
No. I beat it on console, but
I'm sure. Like, but the thing is, I have to keep in mind, I'm so used to using mouse and keyboard now that like controller feels foreign. So for me, I could see where like controller people, they just like pick it up automatically, right? Because they're just used to using a controller to begin with.
Woolie's saying it's pretty good. So
yeah, I think if you already used to using controller games with controller support, and that's just like what you normally do, I think people are probably having no issues with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm curious to see if the PlayStation incorporates that touchscreen with anything. That'd be kind of cool. You know what I mean?
I know what I'm getting into. I've played early access. I just have a Mac. I thought the game was coming out on Mac. Am I wrong?
I don't know. Let me look.
I don't know. That's a good question. You know, at one point in time, something that's been on my like radar for a while, and a lot of people have told me that I need to try out is
It's on Mac.
Warhammer 40K Darktide. Apparently, they're adding a RPG based skill tree.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's on Mac. Baldur's Gate 3 is on Mac.
Yeah. So we'll have to final version for Mac isn't out yet. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's delayed. That's what it was. There were people that were upset that the Mac version was delayed. So we got to swing past that Warhammer at one point. But they're adding a skill tree system. Maybe I'll take a look into that. That'll be pretty interesting.
It's on Game Pass.
It is on Game Pass. I think I probably even have it downloaded already, honestly.
I know I don't.
Yeah, I think I downloaded it a while ago just to make sure I had it for whenever we wanted to play it with people.
Yeah.
So we were segueing. We're talking about some fanboyism and stuff like that. I think it's time that we talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Starfield.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know where to start with this one, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Like, I'm looking forward to it. Kind of. The more research that I did on it this weekend while I was looking up other stuff kind of makes me super hesitant on the PC version. And that's what I was excited about was the PC version. I'm going to be able to play the game at 60 frames per second. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Bethesda, when games get launched with right off the bat, they generally have a lot of hard bugs. We're just used to it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know this is for a fact, but this is what people have data mined from the pre-installs. There's no DLSS or FSR. I think FSR is what AMD's is for the PC version, which is brutal for a game that's going to be buggy. So I think it's going to bounce all over the place, or we're going to have to lock it at 30 or something stupid. But that's just conjecture right now until I
couldn't I have a 3080, a top of the line CPU. I couldn't imagine having to lock a first person shooter at fucking 30 frames.
Yeah. But
it's not the fact. See, and the funny thing is, people have been like complaining about the whole like 30 and 60 frame stuff and all that kind of thing. The thing is like, honestly, that doesn't really matter to me. It depends on what kind of game it is. Yeah. A first person shooter locked at 30 is gross. That is disgusting. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, for some people that aren't into PC gaming and don't understand, like, that's where you're having screen tearing. The game just looks bad. It's just bad. That's all. Because you move your camera around so much in a first person shooter. Like, all these slow camera movements that you see them do while they're playing the game right now. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch the Starfield Direct, all of their camera movements are look how slow these camera movements are. You want to know why they're not fast?
Controlled.
You want to know why they're not fast? Yeah, because it's gonna fucking rip the screen in half. That's why.
It's gonna drop frames.
GoldenEye at 17 FPS. Seriously, you can already see it here. That's why they're using a whole lot of motion blur when they're kind of flipping things back and forth. There's a lot of motion blur. Yeah. Oh god, that makes me sick actually. I'm gonna get away for a second. I want to get motion sick.
I think the game's going to be good, and we've had the conversation before. If the game comes out and it's playable, it'll be a contender for Game of the Year, more than likely.
Oh no! Here's the thing. I don't want to get it twisted. I will absolutely talk shit about this game, but I do it in a very loving way because I do think that the game is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think it's going to be obviously a Game of the Year contender. I kind of agree with Tom actually, where he's talking like 8 out of 10. I would probably say it's going to be a 9. It's going to be a 9, and I think the only thing that's really going to hold the game back is that it's a Bethesda game. It's going to be buggy when it releases, and they just know that's the way it's been because we've all played Bethesda games a million times already. I brought this up on one of the other podcasts, but like I can't even tell you how many times I have played through Skyrim. I've bought the game at least 3 times. At least.
minimum.
I bought it for my Xbox 360. Yep, I bought it for the Xbox One, I think.
Yeah.
Because that was before they had like the cross compat for every game. But they had also released like the HD anniversary with all the DLC and all that stuff. Yeah, all the mods and all that. And then I bought it again for my fridge.
Bought it again for my calculator. Yeah, like I'm gonna crap on the game when it's worthy to be crapped on. What my biggest fear for this game is how large the scope is. So they're gonna either oversell it, or just how big the game is. It's not going to run very well, and that's a shame. And it has a little bit to do with their engine that they use. But like I said, I'm holding my pure judgment until I get the game.
I'm actually not. When I say I was just shit over the game, I'm not actually going to really shit over the game. I actually think the game's going to be fucking great. I think it really is going to be great. But the thing is that when we're trying to, like, there's people that are already trying to make the comparison of Baldur's Gate and how, like, so when we're talking about fanboyism, I'm just going to say it. All right. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be flat out honest with you guys. If you guys haven't noticed, this is a gaming channel. I like RPGs. I make videos about RPGs. Mark and I on this podcast like playing video games. I could give a absolute shit what console you love so much, because that is just, it's just weird. It's just weird. This weird, like, I saw the Twitter thing. I'm going to probably make a fucking video on it because it drives me up the wall where they're like, well, looks like Starfield's ready for Xbox. You can already pre-download it. But apparently you can't pre-download the quote-unquote Game of the Year on PlayStation yet because it's not ready. Does this mean that Starfield's more ready for release than Baldur's Gate 3? And it's like, the game is already a W. What are you talking about? It's already critically rated. It's already user rated. It's one of the best RPGs of all time. But you're trying to throw this weird little console pony versus Xbox stuff. It's just weird, guys. It's a plastic box, man. It's not a team. It's not America versus Japan, you weirdo. Like, stop. God. Like, it's like cope. It's cringe. It's just weird, guys. Like, don't you just want all games to be good? But then all of a sudden, like, the Xbox guys get on the whole, like, yeah, but, you know, we're like, and don't get me wrong, I honestly think that, like, Xbox is being more consumer friendly than most lately with, like, Game Pass and stuff like that. But it's just, dude, just chill out. Why does yours need to be better? Tell me. What does it do for your day? Are you waiting for people to like celebrate you as you're walking down the street? There he is, guys. That guy owns an Xbox. Look at him. I bet he fucks
like a minx.
You know, like, chill out.
Yeah,
just chill out.
It's so cringy, and then you've got the talking heads for each side that are they're just the worst. Like, you can't even be excited about anything without one of these people coming on a social media to just crap on you for no reason. It makes no sense. It ends up
being just like stoking the flames just for the fandom. That's all it is. It's just like that's how a lot of these people gain their followers, and they enjoy the discourse of it. They love being on a team, and they want to be on the winning team, even though, you know, there's the one thing I actually ended up commenting on the one comment where they're talking about how Baldur's Gate 3 is not ready for PlayStation, but Starfield's ready for Xbox and PC. And I'm just like, this is really tone deaf. Seeing that your console can't even fucking play Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Seems like it's ready for this, but it's not. Like, the game can't even play on Xbox. What? Like, Baldur's Gate 3, we don't even know when Baldur's Gate 3 is going to get released on Xbox. What are you out here talking shit about the game for? How about you just, like, why can't you guys just be over on the other corner just being excited that Bethesda's releasing a new game and you're going to get to play Starfield and it's going to be a lot of fun and you're just going to be able to enjoy it? Why do you also need to celebrate this But the only way that you can enjoy the celebration of playing Starfield is also to simultaneously shit on the other side of the fence. Because you can't just...
You got the shit posts.
Yeah. You can't just... I'm sorry. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah. And like...
But here's the thing, Apex. Correction. It can't play on the Series S, which means Xbox also can't allow it to release. Because if they allow it to release, then that means they go against their parity clause that they made for themselves on Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. I would go to say it is more likely if they cannot get split screen to work on Xbox Series S, you may not actually see a Baldur's Gate release on Xbox specifically because of that parity.
Yep.
That is what they're giving to their fans.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Like if mine and Ian's PCs have a hard time with Act 3, do you think the Series S is going to be like, oh yeah, I can handle that? It's all good. It's all good gravy. It's all gravy, baby.
Act 3 is going to cause that thing to smoke. You're going to have to download Act 3 as a separate game to play. It'll have its own other client.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
we've
you've entered Act 3. Please open this other game.
And we've talked about it ad nauseum. I love Xbox. I have Game Pass. I've had it for almost, well, not Game Pass. I've had Xbox Live since it came out in 2005. I've been paying every year since then. So
I'm a Series S owner. It's sitting right over there. I have a Series S.
This isn't a shit on Xbox, but they really screwed the pooch when they did the S and the X. They should have just did the X and just called it a day.
And you know what the funny thing is that like at the time it sounded like such a good idea. Even from the player's perspective, the Xbox Series S was such a cool idea because for me, I was like, well, I'm not going to play my Xbox a whole lot. I want to have a console so I can sit on my couch and chill and play some video games rather than sit at my computer and play some games. I don't care that it doesn't play games at as high of a quality as my PC because I wouldn't expect a console to play as high quality games as my PC does because I put more money into my PC. So it sounded like a great idea. I didn't think it was going to be this much of a hamstring for future games that would come out during the console generation, during this generation of the consoles. And it's like it's that much of a disparity that they're running into these kind of issues. Yeah. Why do we think Halo Infinite wasn't able to have a split screen off the bat? Do you think that was a conscious choice, even though they went on stage and specifically said they were going to make sure it was going to have one? Or do you think it was something that they realized that they couldn't do because of the Xbox Series S and Series X parity clause when they were developing the game? I would put money on that, especially now seeing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. And just saying, hey, we won't have co-op on the S. I saw Apex comment again. Just don't put it on the S. Well, guess what the majority of the consoles for Xbox gamers are right now that have the newer series?
Yeah, most people own Series S.
They own the S. So
yeah. Is there going to be like an internal like civil war conflict of Xbox fans where they're going to be where like the Xbox Series X players are going to be like standing over the S players and be like, if you weren't so poor, then you would be able to play Baldur's Gate 3, but too bad.
I'm just amazed that they're going to get Starfield to run on it, to be honest with you. I'm like, I can't wait for Digital Foundry to see that, to watch what they do. You know what I mean? So
how optimistic are we for the console versions of Starfield? I think Series X is a pretty strong. I think
the Series X and the PlayStation 5 are both capable consoles. I think. I just think the S just doesn't have the RAM that the other two have to be able to pull off some stuff. Man, it's a shame. It's a shame.
So Apex, I actually got into an argument with some Xbox podcasters.
Zealots. Let's be honest.
I got into an argument with some people, specifically over the topic of who. Let's be real. That's right there. Let's be real. Who even plays split screen anymore? The answer is plenty of people.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is, prove me wrong. And when I say that, nobody has any proof other than like, well, there's a bunch of people making articles about how split screen is dead because nobody's putting it in their games anymore. Well, that's two different things. That's not people aren't playing it anymore. That's
not
companies aren't putting it in their games anymore. And why aren't they? Tell me which sounds more believable. Cutting costs to increase profits and lower development time, or nobody does split screen anymore. Out of those two things, which one do you think is more likely? Because I can tell you right now, I've played plenty of games this year as split screen. And I've also seen all of the tweets when all the tweets and all of the different social media replies when Diablo IV announced that they were going to have split screen. And how many wives and husbands, boyfriends and girlfriends, sisters and brothers were sitting around the couch playing split screen. Same thing. Drock brings it up as well. Sports games, Madden, FIFA, tons of other games people are still playing on the couch together. That is not something that's just going to die. It's not like people have completely disappeared from our lives. The reason why a lot of these companies, this is Ian's opinion, okay? This is my opinion. The reason why a lot of these companies are walking away from split screen is because a lot of these multiplayer games, well, they're not really going to get you to spend a whole lot of money on those microtransactions, those battle passes, or anything of that sort when you're playing the game split screen with somebody else. The interaction's just not the same. It's just not. It doesn't compute the same way.
Yep. And the way Larian's split screen works, if it's the same as Divinity 2, we can separate. We're not tethered. You remember that in Gotham Knights where they're having it's a tether issue?
Yeah.
So when you split screen and you initially split screen, now your hardware is having to produce the same image twice, not once. So that's going to automatically tax your frames.
Yep.
So and they're not tethered together. So if you go your separate way, they go the separate way. It's just not working on the S. Yeah. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. So that's my whole thing, because like I've had the discussion and I got upset about it because actually the conversation that I had initially with somebody was I'm like, and they're like, oh come on, be serious. They actually told me that I was being basically that I was being dishonest, that I just wouldn't admit that nobody's playing split screen anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, and then they brought up and they said, well, you're not going to play split screen. And I'm like, bullshit, I don't. I frequently do. What are you talking about? Oh, well, you're lying. How do you know that? Do you know my life? And that's the problem, is that people just make a lot of assumptions that we think we know how other people live, but we don't. And the fact is that there is a lot of people that still play split screen. Mm-hmm. And even more so, why are we lowering the bar and saying it's okay for them to throw out these features? For what? Because our standards for them are lower now? Is that what it is? Because we expect less from them? Oh, their job's so hard. They got to be able to make it split screen. So we need to be the ones to suffer from having less options. Do you know what? We need to make their job easier, guys. Let's lower our standards of the features that we think should be in video games. And we should bring it down a little bit to make their jobs easier, because we'll get better games as a result of it. No. Because that's the same thing. It's the whole reason of the discussion around Baldur's Gate 3. These lowered expectations. Hey guys, you can't expect this from AAA companies, guys. So we're trying to say that we don't need to have split screens, and we don't need to have a split screen in a game when they could pull it off on Baldur's Gate. They already did it on PC. You can play split screen on Baldur's Gate on PC.
Now that would be not fun.
Split screen on Baldur's Gate is going to work just fine on PlayStation 5. It's not pushing its release back. So we need to lower the standards of the entire industry to make Xbox Series S players happy? That doesn't sound right either.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of like, it hurts my heart a little bit, this kind of whole conversation. It's just kind of bad. We people in general, we like to think everyone's like us, so they consume content the same way that we consume content, which isn't true. There's plenty of families that have consoles that play split screen games with brothers playing together, brother and sister playing together, father and son, mother and daughter.
Yeah.
It like consoles are like they've become a family staple in a home. It's just such a weird take to think that just no one's doing it. There are billions of us gamers around the world, and you're gonna sit there and say all billion of them don't do that? That's insane.
Well,
now,
and also go ahead.
There's a percentage of people that don't. Yeah, I imagine there's probably a good 50% of people that don't.
Oh, if not more,
or more,
if not more. But also keep in mind at the same time. So, and somebody actually brought it up in chat. Eliminating EOD Voodoo says eliminating split screen forces players to spend money on consoles and live services. It forces them to buy more than one copy of a game, forces them to spend money on another console, more accessories, live services, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, absolutely.
And development.
So the thing is that like at the same time, in the same breath, and this is obviously more of a Western world discussion, but this is also something that exists just about everywhere, where a lot of people are discussing issues with the economy and people not getting jobs and people not making enough money and taxes being too high and things like that. But also in the same breath, we're also supposed to believe that apparently households now today can own multiple consoles and multiple memberships to online services. That doesn't sound right. How many consoles do you think a household of like five that has like 5 kids has? Do you think they have 5 consoles for each kid to play their own version of Halo or whatever else? No, dude. No, they don't. That's why, like, it blows my mind that people would try to make the assumption that nobody plays split screen anymore. It's just ridiculous.
It's pretty absurd.
Yeah, and especially, and here's the other thing too, is that like let's narrow that by genre then. What games do you think people play split screen the most together on? Multiplayer RPGs and first-person shooters and racing. Racing, sports games. Racing. I guess all of them.
And fighting games.
Like actually thinking about like fighting games. Yeah. Like there's so many different games. Well, fighting games isn't really split screen though.
No, it's not.
But you get what I'm saying. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, well, wait a minute, dude. Like let's just take a minute to parse this conversation out and really think about it level-headed.
Okay, just put this here. I'm gonna throw this out to you. The game that sells the most copies every year is what? Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you there are 2 kids somewhere right now split screening zombies.
Oh, 100%.
Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Like
there's a reason why those games still have split screen to begin with, because they know that there's a major market for people that are going to play those games split screen. They always have. A lot of that stuff's just kind of traditional to begin with. Unless we're trying to assume that every household all of a sudden only has one child. Which we know, which if we look at the South, we know that's not the case.
No. We don't pull out for shit.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a weird conversation. But like one of the things that like I like, man. So what are your actual expectations for Starfield? Because like this is really the discussion that I kind of want to have. You know what I mean? Like my expectations are this.
I'm low. Mine are low.
Lowered expectations. Yeah. So my expectations for Starfield are this. It is going to be some of the best exploration that you've ever had in a video game. It's going to be one of the best exploration games ever. I think that the RPG mechanics are going to be spot on, because this is just the perfected version of Elder Scrolls meets Fallout. You know what I mean? They've had a lot of iterations to work on this, so I think that this is going to be really, really good. I think visually, static visual, not moving visual, because we'll see how performance actually goes. I think static visually, this is going to be some of the coolest vistas we've seen in a Elder Scrolls or Bethesda game world.
I think so,
because they've always done really good with atmosphere.
Yeah,
their atmosphere is always spot on. So I think the environments are going to be beautiful. Narrative, I think narrative is probably going to be kind of just there.
It's weak. It's going to be its weakest. I think it's going to be its weakest link.
Because it's never been their strongest suit.
No.
If their narrative is like crazy and it's really, really good, then that's a different story. But the thing is like I feel like just in general narrative delivery in Bethesda games has never really been like a high point for me. Mostly just because of the fact that like how like all the characters in their games like always look like they're just whacked out.
What if Starfield doesn't have an NPC that's just walking through the room and just like Michael Jackson moonwalking into the table like this?
No, it's not even the bugs. It's not even the bugs. I'm just talking about like, so I talked about this in my video on Baldur's Gate 3 where the character movement and how they talk to you, the small nuances of conversation, whether it's like hand gestures, body movement, blinking, how your eyes will kind of look in other directions and things like that while you're talking to somebody. Things that accentuate the non-verbal language that is shown when you're having a conversation with somebody really takes you to that next level of
immersion.
Bethesda games have never had that.
No.
Bethesda games are this. Hello, adventurer. Yes. It's time for you to go. And like, but the weird thing is that like they'll have these like really good animated scenes, and then all of a sudden you'll get to like the actual conversation where like, it does like the I need you to go and check the stars. I'm pretty sure there might be some aliens on this planet. All right. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's just that's the kind of stuff narratively that kind of takes you out of it sometimes. So I don't think so delivery is not going to be that strong. I think the narrative itself, as long as it's a good overarching narrative, I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I think the main story, but like it's the rich. Okay, so and not to compare it, but the richness of what Baldur's Gate does through the whole narrative is going to be different. They're going to have, for Starfield, they're going to have a big start, big finish, I think. But, they're going to do the normal, just crescendo up, big ending, right? But it's the in-between stuff that is where I say the narrative lacks, is the side quest stuff. It's just the normal talking to people, trying to get information. It's just, like, they've never been, like, super, super awesome at it, so...
I think CK, Sidekick, is also on point on this one. I think the building in this game is going to be fantastic. I think the customization of your weapons, your ships, and your bases is going to be top notch. I think that stuff is probably going to be some of the best content in the game, which the funny thing is that that's not necessarily something that's super popular for a lot of people, but for me, it definitely is. Yeah. I love building in games. It was something I never used to really get into. It was my my elder phase of being an elder gamer. You know what I mean? Like now I've gotten into that kind of thing where I really like how many hours I have spent in Terraria or Minecraft just building extravagant houses. Dude, there was a playthrough on Minecraft where I built a pyramid with like stalls for all the different NPCs or all my traders that I wanted to have. And then an entire village and a bunch of other stuff just because I just enjoy doing that part of the game. And I think that's going to be a really strong suit. It's also going to be something that's going to feed into the longevity of Starfield going forward. It's going to add to, because I don't think Starfield is a replay game. I think Starfield's a long play game.
Yep.
It's a game that you'll go back to and you'll explore more planets that you didn't explore in the past. It's a game that you go back to and you go and you build on some of your bases, or maybe you build a different ship and then that's what you go and you enjoy your adventure on. Whereas something like Baldur's Gate 3 is more of a game that you'll replay over and over and over again to get different permutations and different playthroughs, different experiences, whether that's alone or with somebody else. Starfield doesn't have any multiplayer. And I feel like that's a major weakness. I don't think it needs to. Here's the thing. I'm not saying it needs to be a massively multiplayer game. I'm not saying it needs to be an MMO or an MMO light. But man, it would be a lot of fun if it was co-op.
Yeah, it would. But like Bethesda's co-op experiences are Fallout 76.
That's the only one that they've had, though. So and I'm not going to judge that one experience as the only thing that they would ever be capable of doing.
Yeah, it seems like a missed opportunity, though, if you think about how big this game is, how big this game is in general, of just being able to fly around and see people flying around, maybe dogfight people.
Yeah,
in space, it'd be kind of dope. Yeah.
So the thing is that like I feel like it's just kind of a missed opportunity. I don't whether it's actually going to affect the game. I don't really think it will. I just do feel like it's a missed opportunity because I think overall gamers are a bit more social game wise. And it would have been kind of nice to see something like that integrated into the game. So for me on the from outside looking in, it does kind of hurt my opinion of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Skyrim on PC got co-op mods, so I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah, but it's got Skyrim on PC. So the thing is, like, what's the modding community going to look like? The modding future of the game is the one thing I am very interested in. And what's that going to look like for Xbox and Game Pass?
Oh, no, I'm just talking about Steam. Like, I'm going to play the game on Game Pass until mods come out, and then I'm going to buy it on Steam if I like the game. That's my goal. So, because I'm trying to do mods on PC Game Pass is. Oh,
well, yeah, I couldn't even play like. Tell me how weird this is. Xbox buys Minecraft. You can't use mods on it for like years of them owning it. You still have to use the Java version that you buy through Mojang's site. It wasn't until I think last year that they finally released the Minecraft launcher on Xbox Game Pass for it to be allowed where you could actually use like standard mods and stuff like that. Because the Minecraft launcher now allows you to either launch the Minecraft Bedrock edition, which is the PC version, or the Java edition, which is the one that you can actually mod. Which is just really weird that you would make one version of the game that you can mod and one version that you can't. It's just odd. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of how Microsoft and Xbox take a really odd position when it comes to modding games.
Yeah. One thing I'm really excited about with Starfield is because I like doing this in any kind of RPG is I think I read you can have up to 20 crew members. You can recruit up to 20 different crew members to get to know relationships, build you know what I mean, like build your own
unique characters that you can actually
which is super super cool.
Yeah, except for the fact that I'm also having immediate flashbacks of having those characters that you can recruit in Skyrim and also Fallout that cause you more headache and heartache than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's just like I'm trying to sneak into this place and it's like all of a sudden you just see fucking your NPC buddy who came along. Like I'm sneaking through the place. Like, all right, I think there's some traps over there. And your NPC buddy's like, hey, what's going on in here? So yeah, I'm interested to see how much their AI has changed.
That is an interesting take. JVD says Diablo 4 is dying, and I know why. No matchmaking, no open voice chat, no scoring after levels. Players in RPGs like to min-max theorycraft builds, then show them off to randoms. I don't fully disagree with you. I don't know what well, no shit. Diablo 3 had matchmaking. Yeah. You know what?
Diablo 2 had lobbies.
High five to JVD.
No, he's absolutely right. Here's the thing. If you're gonna make an open world multiplayer game that's like kind of MMO light, it doesn't make any sense that you can't just match with other players to do dungeons and stuff like that. But I think one of the other problems with Diablo as well is if you're going for this multiplayer or this MMO light situation, there's so many things in the game that are just it's completely unnecessary for you to have another player help you anyway. You know what I mean? Where it's like it doesn't really add anything sometimes.
Just makes it harder.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't know. I just feel like in general when it comes to Diablo, I think they just made a lot of boneheaded mistakes when they were designing the game.
It's good talk.
Yeah. So Mark and I are going to probably finish up with another point here, and then after that, we're probably going to get into the closing section. If you guys have any questions or anything that you guys would like us to discuss before the show is up, make sure you guys post those questions now. This is the time if you guys have any questions for us that you guys would like us to talk about before the end of the show. So continuing on with the Bethesda and Starfield conversation, I think overall, I think the game is just going to be really good. I think it's just going to be a solid game. It's going to be everybody's major worry is just how bad is performance going to be. And the thing is that like I think the thing that I don't like is that Bethesda themselves just don't get in front of that narrative. And they just let it sit out there and fester. The idea of Bugthesda, the idea of them having bad frame rates, the idea of, the game just being buggy upon release, because that's just how Bethesda games are. During this entire narrative of Starfield coming out, I haven't seen a single time that Todd or anybody else has gotten out there and been like, this is going to be one of the cleanest Bethesda experiences you've ever seen, the most polished Bethesda experiences you've ever seen. Where we're not going to have a lot of bugs, we're not going to have a lot of issues or anything like that. They just don't get in front of that narrative, and I think that's one of the things that just doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, and the only thing that they got in front of, because it was starting to become a thing, right? It was the frame rate, and so he came out and said that they like their games at 30 frames per second for fidelity, and he's not talking about like graphical fidelity like 4K. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about fidelity of the richness of the stuff in the picture, like how many things you can get in the picture, being able to touch all the objects, that type of stuff. That's what he's talking about. Because you do that with that many assets, you up the frame rate, it's gonna make it bounce everywhere, right? It's gonna kind of go everywhere, and not to beat on Xbox or anything, but it's got to run on the S. It has to. So, yeah, I'm just like I said, my only hope is on PC. It's not just a frame game. You know what I mean?
No.
So
no.
But like I said, the modding community will be really big for Starfield. They fixed a lot of shit in Skyrim. They fixed a lot of shit in all their games, so it should be pretty good.
So, hitting some community questions. We have misinformation saying, what do you think of not being able to remove player-made characters from Baldur's Gate 3 campaigns? To be honest with you, I don't really care.
I'm not understanding the question.
Okay, so just as an example, so the party that you and I have, our game file, I can't remove you from the party.
Oh, from the party?
Right.
So if you're not playing, you could just let me die and never res me again, right?
Yeah, but I also don't know how that works either. Like, I could take all the characters from your control, but I don't think I can remove your character from the party at all.
I'm pretty sure if I die and you don't res me back, you can.
No, you just have your dead portrait. You just have your dead portrait, and your soul would stay in the same place.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's the reason why they bring it up in the first place, is because of the fact that it's like that.
Let's try
to
it.
be honest, there's nothing to try. It's just it is what this is actually accurate.
It doesn't matter what. Like, are you just breaking up with somebody and you're like, hey, sorry, you're out of the party? You know what I mean? Instead of just keep playing. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. He's just dead in the party. So here's the thing. I don't actually care, and the reason why I don't actually care is because if you're having this is not a drop-in, drop-out co-op game. And if that was what you were going to do, then what you would do is you would just have your friend play as one of the one of the characters. You would just start a game file where you're already there. You wouldn't let your friend make a character, and then they would just class reset one of the characters in your origin party, and then play as that character if you wanted to do something more drop in, drop out. Now, if they wanted to make their own player character, then that's a game that you're waiting for your friend to play with. And that's it.
Save file.
And then you're gonna have your own single player game to play with, because what are you gonna do? Play that game and progress that save file without your friend, so then you guys don't actually play together or experience it? That doesn't even make any sense to me. was playing with someone and they stopped playing for a new PoE season, well then you should have had another game, you probably already have another playthrough that you were playing with anyway, unless the only playthrough you had going on is if someone joins, they have to create a character and can't join without creating one. Yeah, but you can still control that character, right? Then just don't have people join your party. It's just, I guess it's I'm not going to say it's not an inflexibility point for the game, but it's not something that ruins my opinion of it either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, I agree with you, but I could see where people would be irritated with it.
Yeah, I could see how you'd be irritated with it. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm just saying that like, it's just one of those things where it's just, it's one of those things that you just find you just work around it yourself. It is what it is. Maybe it's something they'll probably patch in. It's probably something that they're probably looking at it from my perspective. If I make a save file to play with somebody else, I'm not going to play that save file unless I'm playing with that person. And if that person quits that campaign, well then I probably just get rid of that campaign and just continue to play the one campaign I was playing solo anyway. And that's probably how they thought things were going to work.
Oh wow, I just died.
Yeah, that was weird. And that's probably how they thought things were going to work, which is fine. But they'll probably have to fix it and make it a little bit more flexible in the future. Let's see here. What else? What's your 4 nominees for Game of the Year right now?
Oof, right now. All right, so Starfield, if it's playable, will be up for Game of the Year. Baldur's Gate should win it, but it's going to be up for Game of the Year. I believe Zelda is going to be up for Game of the Year. I don't think Diablo is going to get Game of the Year. Or be up for Game of the Year. I'm not saying get it. I don't even think they're going to be nominated.
They're not going to be nominated, especially after all the shit that went on for season 1, how it completely ruined everybody's taste of the game. Where all of a sudden it's what is it? The user review score is now 2. It's a 2.
And what's the cutoff? What's the cutoff window on releases? Like, isn't there a weird date that they don't consider them? I think it's November.
It might be. I don't know.
I think it's November.
If it comes out in December, is it all of a sudden now considered a 2024?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Like, Armored Core comes out, and I don't know what that's going to be like, but it's a FromSoft game, and FromSoft makes good games. They're running on the same engine as Elden Ring. Did you know that? Ian?
Say that again?
It's on the Elden Ring engine.
Yeah.
So you have the capability of modding in Elden Ring bosses into Armored Core. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Crazy. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
But like being a FromSoft game, I imagine they're gonna get a nod if it's good. So those would probably be my 4.
My 4 are going to be Baldur's Gate 3, obviously. Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Final Fantasy 16.
Oh my god.
Can you not be like such a piece of shit? It's not even a fanboy thing. It's because of the fact that like what Final Fantasy 16 did this year was something that's very transformative for the franchise. It's the first action I guess not really first because they also made the other one action, but this one's like really action based Final Fantasy game where it's very much action narrative Final Fantasy. So I do think that's really gonna play into it as well. And then it's probably gonna be Starfield.
Yeah, I definitely think Starfield's gonna be up in there. It's gonna be
so I think for me personally, I think Starfield is also gonna be like one of my top games for the year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate it's just gonna win Game of the Year. I actually at this point, especially with the narrative that they've already set, with the things that we've discussed over the last few weeks of like developer pushback. Them not having microtransactions, et cetera, I'm going to tell you right now that the game also seeing is like Baldur's Gate, guys, Baldur's Gate is so good. They made IGN put out good videos.
No shit. That's true. That's fact. That's based. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like IGN started making better content because Baldur's Gate is so good. People want to talk about what's the effect of Baldur's Gate. We're already starting to see it. We're already starting to see it.
Now, let's talk about fanboys, and I want to ask the audience what they think. If y'all follow Fanboy Wars, which don't, save some brain cells. If Baldur's Gate 3 wins over Starfield, do you think they will call for media bias? The media hates Xbox. Do you think?
Do you think the fanboys, the Xbox fanboys? Yeah, of course they will. Especially if they don't, especially since they're not getting Baldur's Gate 3 until 2024.
Congratulations, Gabriel. Act 3's pretty bomb, buddy.
Yeah, Act 3's pretty cool.
A lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, I could see people making put that on the box. No shit. Put that as one of the quotes. IGN. We started making better videos and articles because of this game.
You made us be better.
It's almost like Baldur's Gate like reignited the gamer flame in a lot of people. Well, they were like, we almost it made everybody remember like what good games are. And Elden Ring did the same thing. But the thing is that it couldn't have just been one game. We had to have another one that kind of made this whole thing come full circle.
Yep.
Where we're like, wait a minute.
Guys, it's not a unicorn.
No. We're like, wait a minute. This shit is possible. This isn't some anomaly. This isn't something out of out of left field or anything like that. This is something that's actually legit. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
There's a lot of value in that. I mean, Zelda's Zelda, and they always make good games. But like, I'm glad that Elden Ring isn't a standalone unicorn in the industry. Like, oh my God, Elden Ring's this now it's got something to stand with it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we should be striving to do. Period.
Yeah. For sure. Well, guys, we have hit and passed the 2-hour mark. We are running out of time here. I need to actually record another video tonight for next week. Either that or I'll probably record it tomorrow. I don't know. It depends on how I feel in the next hour or so. But I do need to make a video for next week. I have a couple different things I need to talk about. So keep in mind, content on the channel is going to kind of change a little bit here and there. I got some older video games that I'm going to cover. I have Starfield that I'm planning on covering. I have Baldur's Gate 3, obviously more content for Baldur's Gate 3 that I'm going to cover. And then I also plan on starting to try to look towards the future as well. I want to look at some new games that might be coming out, next year. So yeah. I appreciate you guys all coming out. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Mark, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Yes. 3 weeks. I'll be in the Bahamas, baby.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. Mark's in the Bahamas. And I'm going to be working a lot of hours. It's going to be the complete opposite. Mark's going to be like super happy and relaxed, and I'm going to be like, ah!
Well, you see this? See how white this is? Yeah, I got a lot of forehead to get burnt, so.
Also, keep in mind, we still have 53 people trapped up in this place right now. Guys, do me a favor. 1, like the video. 2, join the Discord. There's no reason that we can't just keep talking all the time. It doesn't have to just be the podcast. We can talk all the time. Yeah. I can tell you about my day. I can show you pictures of my cat. Yeah. We can share.
I'm gonna do you. It's just weird, okay? It's just weird.
It's just weird. You guys are just being weird. Don't be
so
weird.
I'm probably going to after we get off of here, I'm probably actually going to jump into the Discord chat. So if anybody wants to jump over there, I'll be happy to talk to you for a little bit. I'm probably going to play a little bit of Baldur's Gate before I go to bed. So
yeah, I might hype into chat for a little bit too. Actually, I have to get some articles and stuff together for a video that I'm going to make really quick, and then go from there. So all right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you guys for coming by. Another absolutely fantastic show. Love you guys. Stay safe, and see you next week.
Peace.